Austin stood at the podium in the packed press room of the Los Angeles Galaxy training facility, his hands gripping the microphone so tightly his knuckles turned white. "I'm gay," he said, his voice steady even as the words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Cameras flashed wildly, reporters shouted questions, and in that single moment the entire room erupted into chaos. But what happened next to his contract was something no one in the league could have predicted. The silence that followed lasted only seconds before the frenzy exploded. Austin's heart hammered against his ribs as he scanned the sea of faces, searching for one person in particular. Evan. His best friend since college, the guy who had been his secret anchor for 2 years now. But Evan wasn't in the crowd. He was probably watching from the locker room like they had planned. Austin had rehearsed this confession 1,000 times in his head during late-night drives along the Pacific Coast Highway, yet nothing prepared him for the real weight of it. At 24, he was the league's brightest young talent, a forward whose speed and precision had already netted him 14 goals this season. Sponsors loved him, fans chanted his name, and his agent had been fielding calls from bigger clubs in New York and Seattle. Now, with 3 simple words, everything balanced on a knife's edge. He stepped down from the podium without taking questions, his cleats echoing on the tile floor as security ushered him toward the exit. In the hallway, his phone began vibrating nonstop. Texts from teammates, calls from his parents back in suburban Sacramento, and one message that made his stomach drop. "We need to talk. Now, Evan." Austin slipped into the empty equipment room, the scent of fresh-cut grass and leather still clinging to the air from morning practice. He had known this day would come eventually. The secrecy had started innocently enough during their senior year at UCLA. Evan, the quiet kinesiology major with kind hazel eyes and a laugh that could calm any storm, had been his roommate. Late study sessions turned into deeper conversations. Then one rainy night after a brutal loss, their friendship crossed a line neither of them expected. Since then, stolen weekends in Malibu, whispered promises in hotel rooms during away games, and the constant fear of discovery had become their normal. Austin's family, traditional to the core, still asked when he was going to settle down with a nice girl and give them grandkids. His father, a retired high school coach, drilled into him that real men provided, protected, and never showed weakness. Coming out meant risking all of it. Back in the locker room, the team was already buzzing. Captain Marcus slapped Austin on the back with a forced grin. "Bold move, kid. Respect." But Austin caught the sideways glances from a few others, the ones who had joked about pretty boys in the showers just last week. He changed quickly, ignoring the notifications piling up on his screen, and headed to his car. The drive to Evan's apartment in Culver City felt endless. When he finally knocked, Evan opened the door without a word, pulling him inside and closing it with a soft click. Their embrace was tight, desperate, the kind that said everything words couldn't. "You did it," Evan whispered against his shoulder. "I'm proud of you, but are you okay?" Austin pulled back, searching those familiar eyes. "I don't know yet. The contract meeting is tomorrow. Everything's about to change." That night, they stayed up talking until the city lights blurred through the window. Austin replayed the press conference in his mind, the way the reporters had leaned forward like sharks smelling blood. He had expected backlash, maybe even a few dropped endorsements, but the call from his agent at midnight changed the script entirely. "Austin, sit down. The Galaxy just got an offer from New York City FC. They're doubling the base salary and adding performance bonuses. They want the brave face of the league. Your coming out just made you the most marketable player in MLS overnight." Austin stared at the phone, stunned. The number on the contract wasn't just bigger. It was life-changing. Yet the victory felt hollow. He glanced at Evan, who was scrolling through the trending news on his laptop, his brow furrowed. The headlines were already calling him everything from trailblazer to distraction. Austin reached for Evan's hand. "This doesn't change us, right?" Evan squeezed back, but the hesitation in his grip lingered like a shadow. The next morning, practice felt different. Teammates who had once roughhoused with him now kept a careful distance. Their jokes a little too loud, their pats on the back a little too forced. Coach pulled Austin aside after drills. "Kid, I've got your back, but the board is watching. Play your game. Keep your head down." Austin nodded, lacing up his boots with renewed focus. On the field, the ball became his escape. He dribbled past defenders with the same fire that had made scouts notice him in college. But inside, the questions swirled. Was this confession the beginning of freedom or the start of isolation? Evan waited for him in the parking lot after practice, baseball cap low over his eyes to avoid recognition. They drove to their favorite taco truck in silence, the ocean breeze carrying the salt of possibility and fear. "My dad called," Austin finally said, voice cracking. He hung up before I could explain. Evan didn't offer empty comfort. Instead, he simply listened, the way he always had. That quiet loyalty had kept Austin going through every hidden moment, every lie to the press about focusing on football. Now the truth was out, and the real test was only beginning. By evening, the internet had exploded. Supportive messages flooded his socials from fans and fellow athletes, but so did the hate. Austin scrolled through them alone in his apartment, Evan having gone home to give him space. One comment from a former teammate at UCLA cut deepest. "Always knew you were soft." Austin closed the laptop, chest tight. He had sacrificed so much to reach this level, waking at dawn for extra training sessions, skipping family holidays for tournaments, pushing his body until it screamed. Coming out wasn't just about love. It was about refusing to live half a life anymore. Yet the price tag on his new contract felt like blood money. He texted Evan a single heart emoji, the only thing he could manage. The reply came instantly, "I'm here. Always." For the first time since the podium, Austin allowed himself a small smile. The road ahead was uncertain, but at least he wasn't walking it alone. Little did he know that the first real crack in their foundation was already forming, hidden in a single leaked photo that would surface before sunrise. The leaked photo hit social media at 4:17 a.m., a grainy shot of Austin and Evan kissing outside a coffee shop in Santa Monica 2 months earlier. By the time Austin woke to the buzzing of his phone, the image had been shared 40,000 times. "Mystery man revealed," one headline screamed. "Is the galaxy's new gay icon hiding a secret boyfriend?" Austin's stomach lurched as he stared at the screen. Evan's face was blurred but recognizable to anyone who knew him. The comments were vicious, calling it a publicity stunt, questioning Evan's motives, even suggesting the relationship was the reason Austin had come out so suddenly. He dialed Evan immediately, voice shaking. "Did you see it?" The line was quiet for a beat. "Yeah, my boss just called. They're pulling me from the upcoming feature story on you." Evan worked as a sports journalist for a local network, and the irony wasn't lost on either of them. His career now hung in the same spotlight Austin had stepped into. They met at a quiet park bench near Venice Beach, the early morning fog wrapping around them like a shield. Evan looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. "I thought we were careful," he said, running a hand through his hair. Austin reached for him but stopped short, suddenly aware of every passing jogger. "We were. Someone must have followed us." The betrayal stung deeper than the public scrutiny. Austin's agent, Lisa, called next. "The New York offer is still on the table, but they want a joint statement. They're spinning this as a positive diversity move. Your value just jumped another 20%. The numbers were dizzying. Austin had grown up in a modest 3-bedroom house where money was always tight. Now millions were being thrown at him because he loved another man. It felt wrong, like his identity had become currency. "I don't want to use us for leverage," he told Lisa. She sighed. "Kid, this is the business. Take the win while it lasts." At practice that afternoon, the atmosphere had shifted again. Marcus pulled Austin aside during water break. "Listen, I'm not one to judge, but some of the guys are uneasy. The leaked photo, it's making waves in the locker room. Austin nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He had expected support from the team that had become his second family. Yet the subtle distance hurt more than outright hostility. During scrimmage, he channeled the frustration into every sprint, every precise pass, leaving defenders in the dust. The coach noticed, pulling him aside afterward. "Whatever's fueling you, keep it. We've got Seattle this weekend, and they're coming for blood." Austin showered quickly, avoiding the usual banter, and found Evan waiting outside the facility in his beat-up Honda. They drove north along the coast, windows down, the wind whipping away some of the tension. "My parents saw the photo," Evan said quietly. Mom cried. Dad just stared at the wall. Austin's own father had stopped answering calls altogether, and the silence from Sacramento echoed louder than any headline. That evening, Austin's loyal college friend, Jamal, showed up at his door with takeout and a six-pack. Jamal had been the first person Austin confided in back at UCLA, and his steady presence felt like solid ground. "You're trending for all the right reasons now," Jamal said, clinking bottles. "But watch your back. I heard one of the rookies sold the photo to a gossip site for quick cash." The betrayal cut sharp. Austin had mentored that rookie, shared tips on finishing in the box, invited him to team barbecues. Now the kid's greed threatened everything. They talked late into the night, Jamal reminding him that real strength wasn't hiding. It was standing tall after the fall. When Jamal left, Austin called Evan. "Come over. I need you here." Evan arrived 20 minutes later, and they collapsed onto the couch, limbs tangled in the safety of four walls. "I love you," Austin whispered into the dark. Evan kissed his forehead. "I know. But love isn't enough if the world keeps trying to tear us apart." The words lingered, heavy with unspoken fear. The next day brought the contract meeting. Austin sat across from the Galaxy executives and the New York representatives via video. The numbers on the screen were staggering. A 5-year deal worth more than he had ever dreamed. "Your story is inspiring the next generation," the New York GM said with a polished smile. "We want you leading the charge." Austin glanced at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. Yet, as he signed the preliminary agreement, a nagging doubt crept in. Was this elevation because of his talent or because he had become a marketable symbol? Back at home, Evan paced the kitchen while Austin cooked pasta, the domestic normalcy a fragile bubble. "You're really going to New York?" Evan asked, voice tight. Austin set the spoon down. "It's not final. I told them I need time." The misunderstanding hung between them like smoke. Evan thought the move was Austin chasing the money and spotlight. Austin saw it as securing their future. They ate in strained silence, the earlier warmth replaced by the growing rift. By midnight, Austin lay awake staring at the ceiling. The glowing contract offer should have felt like victory, but the leaked photo, the team's unease, and Evan's quiet withdrawal made everything feel precarious. He replayed their first real date, a hidden hike in the Hollywood Hills where Evan had admitted he had been falling for Austin since freshman orientation. That honesty had been their foundation. Now, with the world watching, Austin wondered if the foundation could hold. His phone lit up with another message from his mother. "We love you, but this is a lot for your father. Give him time." The words offered little comfort. Outside, the Los Angeles lights stretched endlessly, mirroring the uncertain path ahead. Austin closed his eyes, willing sleep to come, but the image of Evan's worried face refused to fade. The contract might have skyrocketed, but the real cost was only beginning to reveal itself. The Seattle match arrived under a sky-threatening rain, the stadium packed with fans waving rainbow flags alongside the usual Galaxy scarves. Austin jogged onto the pitch, the roar of the crowd vibrating through his chest. For 90 minutes, football became his sanctuary again. He scored twice, the second goal a curling shot from 25 yards that left the keeper frozen. The team celebrated on the field, but back in the locker room the congratulations felt measured. Marcus gave him a fist bump. You carried us today. Yet the rookie who had leaked the photo avoided eye contact entirely. Austin showered in silence, the victory bittersweet. Evan waited in the player's tunnel, cap pulled low. You were incredible, he said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. The drive home was quiet until Austin finally spoke. Talk to me. What's really wrong? Evan pulled over on a side street, gripping the wheel. My editor reassigned me. Said the optics are bad now that everyone knows about us. I've worked years for that beat, and it's gone because of one photo. Austin reached for his hand. We'll fix this. I'll talk to Lisa, see if the network can be pressured. But Evan shook his head. It's not just the job. My parents want me to come home for a family discussion. They think you're dragging me into the spotlight. The family pressure Austin knew all too well now pressed on Evan too. They argued for the first time in months, voices rising in the confined car. I came out for us, Austin said, frustration cracking his voice. So we wouldn't have to hide anymore. Evan's reply cut deep. Did you? Or was it for the bigger contract everyone's talking about? The misunderstanding bloomed into something uglier. Austin slammed the door when they reached his apartment, leaving Evan in the car. Inside, he paced, replaying every hidden moment they had shared, wondering if love had been enough to survive the glare. The next morning brought the turning point no one saw coming. Austin's father showed up unannounced at the training facility, his face etched with lines Austin hadn't remembered. They sat in the empty stands, the field stretching green below them. Your mother showed me the photo, his dad said, voice rough. I didn't raise you to be like this. The words landed like a tackle from behind. Austin had prepared for anger, but the raw disappointment in his father's eyes was worse. Dad, this is who I am. Evan isn't some phase. His father stood, shaking his head. I need time. Don't call until you've figured out what real responsibility looks like. He walked away without another word, leaving Austin alone with the weight of generational expectations pressing down. Back in the locker room, the rookie who had betrayed him finally spoke. I needed the money, man. My mom's medical bills. Austin stared at him, the apology feeling hollow. You sold us out for cash. I trusted you. The rookie looked away, and in that moment Austin realized loyalty in professional sports was as fragile as a contract clause. That afternoon, Lisa called with more news. The New York deal is ironclad now, but there's a catch. They want Evan at the press conference as proof of your stable relationship. Austin's stomach twisted. Using their love as a marketing tool felt dirty. He drove to Evan's apartment, finding him packing a suitcase. I'm going home for a few days, Evan said without looking up. I need space to think. Austin stepped closer. Don't go. We can face this together. But Evan's eyes were distant. You're becoming a brand, Austin. I fell in love with the guy who used to sneak me onto the practice field at midnight. I don't know if I fit into this new version. The words echoed long after Evan left, the apartment suddenly too quiet. Austin sat on the couch, the glowing contract papers on the coffee table mocking him. Millions of dollars, national recognition, yet the one person who mattered most was slipping away. Jamal stopped by that evening, sensing the storm. They sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights. You sacrificed your privacy for him, Jamal said gently. Now he's scared you sacrificed him for the spotlight. Austin stared at the horizon. I just wanted us to be free. The night stretched long with memories. Evan's laugh during late-night drives, the way he bandaged Austin's sprained ankle after a tough game, the quiet promise they had made to always choose each other. The next day, a sponsor called to drop their endorsement, citing brand misalignment. The hits kept coming. Austin trained harder than ever, using the field as therapy, but every goal felt empty without Evan in the stands. His mother texted daily updates about his father's silence, each message chipping away at his resolve. The psychological toll mounted. Sleep became elusive, appetite vanished. He had faced defenders twice his size, but nothing prepared him for the internal war between love and legacy. By the end of the week, Austin made a decision. He drove to the airport, ticket to Sacramento in hand. If his family wouldn't come to him, he would face them head-on. The flight felt like a countdown. At the family home, his mother hugged him tightly at the door. "He's in the garage." Austin found his father under the hood of an old truck, tools scattered like accusations. "Dad, I'm still your son." The older man straightened slowly. "You embarrassed the family name on national television." The confrontation stretched for hours, voices rising and falling like waves. Austin laid bare every fear, every hidden tear, every moment he had wanted to be the perfect son, but couldn't deny who he was. When he finally left, nothing was resolved, but the door hadn't slammed shut either. On the return flight, Austin stared out the window at the clouds below. The contract had skyrocketed, but his personal life was crumbling. He texted Evan a simple message, "I'm fighting for us. Are you still in?" The reply took hours. "I don't know anymore." The rift had widened into a chasm, and Austin wondered if love could survive when the world demanded a price for every honest breath. The charity gala in downtown Los Angeles glittered with celebrities and sponsors, but Austin felt like an imposter in his tailored suit. The invitation had come from the league's diversity initiative, and Lisa insisted he attend to solidify the new contract. Evan had agreed to come as moral support, but the tension between them crackled like static. They posed for photos on the red carpet, smiles practiced and hollow. Inside, conversations swirled around Austin like eddies. "You're changing the game," one executive said, clapping him on the back. Yet every compliment carried an undercurrent of curiosity about his relationship. Evan stayed close, hand brushing Austin's arm only when no one was looking. "This feels fake," he whispered during a lull. Austin nodded, the weight of performance pressing down. They slipped away to a quiet balcony overlooking the city lights, the cool night air a relief. "I turned down a solo interview with ESPN," Austin said. "I won't do anything without you." Evan's eyes softened for the first time in days. "I know you're trying, but every time I see our photo trending, I remember how private our love used to be." Their conversation was interrupted by Marcus, who had come with his wife. The captain pulled Austin aside near the bar. "Heard about the family stuff. My brother came out last year. It gets better, but it takes work." The unexpected solidarity warmed Austin, reminding him that not everyone on the team had turned away. They talked quietly about the pressures of locker room culture, and for the first time Austin felt seen beyond the headlines. Back at the table, Evan had been cornered by a reporter. Austin intervened smoothly, steering them both toward the exit early. In the car, the silence broke. "I'm sorry for pushing you away," Evan said, voice thick. "Seeing you shine while my career stalls, it's hard." Austin pulled over on Mulholland Drive, the city sparkling below like scattered diamonds. "We're in this together. Whatever comes next, we decide as a team." They kissed under the stars, the first real connection in weeks, but the moment was shattered by Austin's ringing phone. His agent again. "Bad news. One of the major sponsors is threatening to pull out unless you address the lifestyle concerns publicly." The sacrifice demanded was clear: sanitize their story or risk the dream contract. The following week brought the major turning point. During a team meeting, the coach announced a new mental health initiative, and Austin volunteered to speak. On a quiet Thursday afternoon, he stood in front of his teammates, voice steady. "I came out because hiding was killing me inside. Some of you have my back, and I'm grateful. But the real hero in my life is the man waiting for me at home." He described Evan's unwavering support through every injury, every doubt. The room was silent until Marcus started clapping. Slowly, others joined. The rookie who had leaked the photo approached afterward. "I'm sorry. I deleted the original file and made a public apology online." The The gesture wasn't enough to erase the damage, but it was a start. Austin drove straight to Evan's apartment, finding him grading papers from his new freelance gig. "I talked about you today," Austin said. "No more hiding us." Evan set the papers down, eyes glistening. "You didn't have to do that." But the relief in his voice said everything. Yet the external pressures refused to relent. Austin's father sent a long email that night, detailing years of unspoken expectations and his own fears about what the world would do to his son. Reading it, Austin cried for the first time since the press conference. He replied with honesty, attaching photos of him and Evan at a recent hiking trip, captions explaining the simple joy they shared. The response came 2 days later. "I'm trying. Bring him to dinner next month." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a crack in the wall. Meanwhile, the New York contract negotiations hit a snag when the team requested Austin relocate immediately for preseason. Evan's job, fragile as it was, kept him anchored in Los Angeles. "I can't ask you to follow me across the country," Austin said during a late-night call. Evan's answer was quiet. "Maybe we need to figure out if long distance is even possible." The possibility of separation loomed like a storm cloud. Austin spent the next practice pushing himself to exhaustion, the physical burn drowning out the emotional one. Jamal noticed and dragged him out for burgers afterward. "You're growing up fast, man. But don't lose the part that makes you Austin." The words stuck with him on the drive home. The climax of the week arrived during an away game in Portland. Austin scored the winning goal in stoppage time, the stadium erupting as his teammates mobbed him. In the celebration, Marcus whispered, "That one was for Evan, right?" Austin nodded, the joy genuine for the first time in weeks. Back at the hotel, he video-called Evan holding up the match ball. "This belongs to us." Evan smiled through the screen, the distance feeling smaller. Yet as Austin lay in the dark hotel room, the psychological toll resurfaced. The constant scrutiny, the family negotiations, the career gamble, all of it demanded a strength he wasn't sure he possessed anymore. He had sacrificed privacy, risked friendships, and nearly lost the man he loved. The growth was undeniable, but so was the exhaustion. The next morning, a text from his mother arrived. "Your father read your email twice. He's proud, even if he can't say it yet." Small victories accumulated like points on a scoreboard, but the final whistle on their relationship still felt far away. Austin packed his bag, ready to fly home to the one person who made every sacrifice worth considering. The flight back to Los Angeles felt like crossing a threshold. Austin stared out the window as the plane descended through clouds, the city sprawling below like a promise and a warning. Evan met him at baggage claim, their hug lasting longer than usual. "I missed you," Evan said simply. They drove to Austin's apartment in comfortable silence, the kind that had once been their default. Over homemade pizza, Austin laid out the latest contract details. "New York wants me there in 3 weeks. But I told them I need a clause for family visits." Evan listened, fork paused. "You're really considering it?" The question carried layers. Austin set his slice down. "Only if we figure out us first." That night they talked until dawn, peeling back every fear. Evan's worry about becoming the boyfriend in the background. Austin's terror of losing the man who had seen him at his lowest. They made love with a tenderness that felt like renewal, bodies and hearts reconnecting after weeks of strain. In the morning light, Evan traced patterns on Austin's chest. "Whatever happens with New York, I'm not walking away." The promise anchored Austin through the next grueling week of training. The real test came during the final home game of the season. Rumors had spread that Austin's move to New York was imminent, and the fans arrived with mixed banners, some cheering his courage, others questioning if he was abandoning the Galaxy. The match against LAFC was physical from the opening whistle. Austin absorbed hard tackles, one leaving him limping, yet he refused to come off. In the 67th minute, with the score tied, he received the ball on the wing. The crowd noise faded as he cut inside, evading two defenders before slotting the ball into the net. The stadium exploded. Teammates piled on him, but Austin's eyes searched the sideline for Evan, who stood clapping with tears visible even from afar. After the final whistle, the team lifted Austin on their shoulders in a spontaneous tribute. In the locker room, Coach announced a new team policy against discrimination. Austin showed us what real leadership looks like. The words carried the weight of months of quiet support finally voiced aloud. Yet the celebration was short-lived. Back at home, Austin received a call from his father. "Son, I watched the game. That goal, it reminded me of you as a kid." The conversation stretched, awkward but genuine. His dad admitting the fear had been more about his own failures than Austin's choices. "Bring Evan for dinner. Your mother's already planning the menu." Austin hung up, chest lighter than it had been in months. He found Evan on the balcony and relayed the news. Their embrace turned into laughter, the first unburdened sound in weeks. But the universe wasn't done testing them. The next morning, a national sports network aired an interview with the rookie who had leaked the photo. The young player publicly apologized again, but the damage resurfaced old comments. Sponsors wavered once more. Lisa called in a panic. "The New York deal is still good, but they're nervous about ongoing drama. You need to make a decision soon." Austin looked at Evan across the kitchen table. "I'm turning it down." Evan's eyes widened. "Austin, that's millions. Money can't buy what we have right here," Austin replied. The sacrifice felt right, like shedding a skin that no longer fit. He called Lisa immediately. "Tell New York I'm staying. My home is here." The decision sent ripples through the league. Headlines shifted from contract explosion to loyalty in the face of opportunity. Fans flooded social media with support, and the Galaxy quickly offered an extension with better terms. Austin and Evan spent the weekend hiking in the San Gabriel Mountains, the trails empty except for birdsong and their shared stories. Evan opened up about his own childhood fears of disappointing his parents, how Austin's courage had given him strength to face his own truth more fully. They sat on a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley as the sun set, hands intertwined. "I was wrong to doubt you," Evan said. Austin kissed his temple. "We both had to grow up." The moment felt like the true turning point, not the press conference or the contract, but this quiet acceptance of each other's flaws and strengths. Back in the city, life settled into a new rhythm. Austin trained with renewed purpose, the team dynamic warmer than ever. Jamal hosted a small barbecue where teammates mingled with Evan as if he had always belonged. Marcus even brought his brother, creating an instant bond over shared experiences. Yet the psychological scars remained. Austin still woke some nights from dreams of his father's disappointed face, but now Evan was there to hold him through it. The growth was tangible. Austin had learned that true strength wasn't enduring alone, but choosing vulnerability with the right person. Sponsors who had wavered returned, citing the authentic story as the reason. The contract he had signed locally wasn't as flashy, but it carried something priceless: peace. As the off-season approached, Austin and Evan planned a quiet trip to Big Sur. Just the two of them, no cameras, no expectations. The road that had begun with a shocking confession had led them through fire, but the horizon ahead glowed with possibility. The Big Sur coastline stretched endlessly as Austin and Evan drove the winding highway, windows down and music low. The past 6 months felt like a lifetime compressed into lessons hard won. Austin glanced at Evan in the passenger seat, the wind tousling his hair, and felt a surge of gratitude that nearly stole his breath. They had survived the misunderstanding that nearly tore them apart, the betrayal that exposed their love to the world, the family rejections that tested every boundary, and the glittering temptation of a contract that promised everything except happiness. Now, parked at a secluded overlook, they watched the Pacific crash against the rocks below. "Remember when I thought coming out would end my career?" Austin said softly. Evan laughed, the sound carrying on the salt air. "Remember when I thought your new contract would end us?" They sat in comfortable silence, the kind built on forgiveness and growth. Austin's phone buzzed with a text from his father. "Safe travels. Looking forward to that dinner when you're back." The simple words marked a milestone neither had dared hope for so soon. Back in Los Angeles, the new season preparations began with a team meeting that felt different. Austin addressed the group first, sharing how the journey had changed him. "I'm still the same player who wants to win trophies, but now I'm playing for something bigger, living honestly." The applause was genuine, and even the rookie who had once betrayed him stood to shake his hand. Evan had found new footing too. His network offered him a permanent role covering women's soccer, a beat that let him stay local without the spotlight glare. They moved in together quietly, turning Austin's apartment into a home filled with framed photos of their travels and a small rainbow flag on the balcony. Family dinners became monthly rituals, awkward at first but warming with each shared story. Austin's mother hugged Evan like a son, and his father eventually asked about game strategy, the old coach in him resurfacing. The societal pressures hadn't vanished, but Austin had learned to navigate them with Evan at his side. One crisp autumn evening, after a preseason match, Austin took Evan to the same park bench where their relationship had nearly fractured months earlier. He pulled a small box from his pocket, not a ring but a key to a new house they had toured together. "Our fresh start," he said. Evan's eyes filled as he accepted it. "You've given me more than I ever imagined." They walked hand in hand under the streetlights, no longer hiding, the city embracing them in its own imperfect way. Austin's career continued its upward trajectory, the local contract proving more rewarding than any inflated offer could have been. He became a quiet mentor to younger players questioning their own identities, turning personal pain into quiet advocacy. The psychological growth was profound. Where once he had feared rejection at every turn, he now moved with quiet confidence, decisions rooted in love rather than fear. As winter approached, Austin stood on the balcony of their new home overlooking the twinkling lights of Los Angeles. Evan joined him, wrapping arms around his waist. "We made it," Austin whispered. The journey had been messy, filled with moments that tested every limit, but each challenge had forged them stronger. Friendship with Marcus and Jamal remained rock solid, family bonds were healing, and the love that had once been secret now shone openly. Austin had discovered that acceptance wasn't a destination handed out by contracts or headlines. It was built daily through courage, communication, and the willingness to face consequences head-on. The man who had once trembled at a podium now stood tall, not because the world had changed overnight, but because he had changed within it. Yet as the year drew to a close, Austin still carried one lingering question that kept him up some nights. He turned to Evan under the stars. "Do you ever wonder if any of this would have happened without the pain?" Evan smiled softly. "Every scar taught us something." Their story wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, written in sweat, tears, and unwavering choice. Austin kissed him, the city humming below like an audience that had finally learned to cheer for the right reasons. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but bright, because they had chosen each other through every storm. Is it true that revealing your true self always leads to greater opportunities and acceptance? Or does it sometimes demand sacrifices that test whether the love was ever strong enough to survive?